signature kick that I've taught them that they've knocked champions out with and won world championships with.
Steven Seagal, who once dominated Hollywood with his martial arts prowess and larger-than-life persona. But beneath the tough guy exterior lies a story that many have long suspected, but few dared to confront. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the man known as Steven Seagal to reveal the truth about the Great Pretender. Before we dive into the details, here's a question for you. Which of Steven Seagal's movies did you think best showcased his true martial arts skills? Or was it all just for show? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. No more waiting. We will discuss some of the less well-known aspects of Steven Seagal's career story, as well as his personal life. As you know, Steven Seagal is a well-known martial artist, actor, and film producer who is recognized for his appearances in Hollywood films that consist of a lot of action. As a result of the many events that have occurred during his career, Seagal has earned a reputation for being a tough co-worker. This is despite the fact that his career has been marked by a number of popular action pictures. During the production of Executive Decision, there was an event that stands out as particularly noteworthy. Seagal, who is well known for his talents in martial arts, is said to have lost his anger and violently challenged his co-star, John Leguizamo, by pushing him against a wall. The combative temperament that Seagal exhibited on site was brought to light by this event. It was during Seagal's hosting stint on Saturday Night Live in 1991 that he encountered another set of challenges. It has been said that he was quite critical of the writing team and the cast throughout the whole of his stay on the program. A long-standing cast member of Saturday Night Live named Tim Meadows made the observation that Seagal appeared to be oblivious of the fact that berating the crew during the week could not result in good comedic routines by Saturday. David Spade, who worked on the program for a total of 6 years, referred to Seagal as the worst host he had ever experienced. Spade partially attributed this to Seagal's strange taste in humor. During the production of The Glimmer Man, there was yet another event that may be considered fascinating. Having been cast in the role of the protagonist, Seagal was entrusted with bringing down a serial murderer, who was portrayed by Stephen Tobolowsky. On the other hand, Seagal, who had built his career on being an action hero, suddenly came to the conclusion that it was detrimental to his karma to continue murdering people on TV. With fast thinking, Tobolowsky came up with an original solution, suggesting that Seagal's character would be releasing the soul of the villain, which would allow him to reincarnate as a more peaceful entity. This unexpected turn of events was approved by Seagal, and the sequence was filmed as intended. With that being said, Seagal subsequently improvised a line in which he said, "Thank God I didn't kill that guy." This ad-lib forced Tobolowsky to record additional lines to create the illusion that his character had survived, reminiscent of a classic horror movie monster. Interestingly, these added lines did not make it into the final cut of the film, leaving a somewhat perplexing scene for viewers. Debates surrounding the concept of reincarnation. While he is renowned for his contributions to the entertainment industry, his journey into Buddhism and claims of being a Tulku, a reincarnated Buddhist master, have brought both attention and skepticism from the religious community. In 1997, Peno Rinpoche, the supreme head of the Nyingma school of Tibetan Buddhism, made a surprising announcement that Steven Seagal was a Tulku. A Tulku is believed to be a reincarnated Buddhist master who has taken on the responsibility of aiding all beings in attaining enlightenment. According to Rinpoche's revelation, Seagal had a significant past life as Turton Chongdragdori in the 17th century. Chongdragdori was a renowned translator who played a pivotal role in establishing a monastery and discovering several powerful relics. This spiritual history led to Seagal being declared a Lama, a highly venerated teacher in Tibetan Buddhism, a status just below that of the Dalai Lama himself. During his inauguration as a Lama, Seagal pledged his commitment to alleviating suffering across the globe and subsequently began giving seminars on compassion at New Age retreat centers. His newfound role as a spiritual teacher seemed to align with his public persona as a martial artist and actor. However, Seagal's claim to spiritual status has faced considerable skepticism, primarily due to allegations of sexual harassment against him. Some have questioned whether someone facing such accusations could genuinely possess the moral character expected of a Tulku. Even fellow celebrity Buddhist Richard Gere expressed doubt, stating, If someone's a tulku, that's great, but no one knows if Seagal's claim is true. Further fueling skepticism is the allegation that Seagal had made substantial financial contributions to Rinpoche's school before being declared a tulku. This has led some to speculate that these donations may have played a role in his convenient recognition as a reincarnated master. This skepticism is noteworthy because, traditionally, reincarnated teachers, or tulkus, are typically identified and recognized as children rather than adults. His unusual connection with the UFC in February 2011. The MMA world was abuzz with anticipation as middleweight champion Anderson Silva faced off against Vitor Belfort, with Silva widely regarded as the greatest mixed martial artist of his time. In a remarkable moment during round 1 of the fight, Silva executed a front kick to Belfort's face, knocking him out in dramatic fashion. This kick became one of the most iconic moments in UFC history. Shortly after this fight, Steven Seagal stepped into the spotlight and claimed full credit for teaching Silva that very kick, going as far as asserting that he had invented it. Seagal's claims drew skepticism from many, but it was worth noting that he had escorted Silva to the ring on that memorable night. Seagal's penchant for taking credit didn't stop there. When Lyoto Machida executed a Karate Kid-style crane kick to knock out the legendary Randy Couture in a subsequent UFC event, Seagal once again made headlines by asserting that he had taught Machida the kick. He even brought this claim to the comedy stage on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Initially, Anderson Silva seemed to play along with Seagal's claims, perhaps in a lighthearted manner. He commented that Seagal was a good person, but clarified that he had been practicing that particular kick before ever meeting the actor. Silva's statement essentially debunked Seagal's claims, suggesting that the martial arts legend was exaggerating his influence on MMA techniques. Other athletes, however, were less diplomatic in their responses to Seagal's self-proclaimed martial arts expertise. When Seagal attempted to offer advice to light heavyweight champion John Jones backstage at UFC 135, Jones reportedly turned him away. Former UFC champion Ronda Rousey bluntly stated that she believed she could beat the crap out of Seagal. In a bizarre turn of events, Seagal even challenged two-time ex-champion Randy Couture to a fight. Couture's response was both humorous and dismissive, suggesting that Seagal wanted the fight to take place in a private remote location where nobody could see it happen. The confrontation between Steven Seagal and the iconic James Bond beyond his on-screen performances. Seagal has played a role in the choreography of many of his films, although one notable instance outside his filmography was his involvement in the James Bond film Never Say Never Again in the early 1980s. In Never Say Never Again, Seagal took on the task of teaching martial arts to the legendary actor Sean Connery, who was reprising his role as James Bond. Connery was already well-versed in karate, having been awarded an honorary third-degree black belt while preparing for his role in the 1967 Bond film You Only Live Twice. However, for his 7th outing as Bond, Connery needed to add Aikido to his skill set, and Seagal was the man tasked with instructing him. Initially, Connery's lessons with Seagal seemed to be progressing smoothly. However, Connery later recounted that he had become somewhat overconfident, thinking he had a grasp of the techniques being taught. In an unfortunate turn of events, an irritated Seagal allegedly grabbed Connery's arm during a training session and unintentionally broke the actor's wrist. Remarkably, Connery soldiered on with his training, not realizing that his wrist had been fractured until the late 1990s. This incident highlighted Seagal's rigorous approach to martial arts instruction. Interestingly, Seagal also demonstrated his resilience and dedication to his craft. During the production of his breakout film, Above the Law, actor Henry Silva accidentally broke a Seagal's nose with a particularly forceful punch during a fight scene. Determined to continue with the shoot, Seagal spent the night acing his battered face to ensure he could resume filming the next day. This episode showcased Seagal's commitment to his work and his willingness to endure discomfort in the pursuit of his art. The clash involving Steven Seagal and the group known as the Dirty Dozen. Steven Seagal rose to fame as one of Hollywood's biggest martial arts stars during his heyday. However, despite his martial arts prowess and impressive achievements, his abilities in real-life combat have been a subject of debate and skepticism. Seagal is known for being a 7th Dan black belt in Aikido, a Japanese martial art that emphasizes joint locks and the redirection of an opponent's momentum. His martial arts journey included a significant milestone when he became the first American to teach Aikido in Japan, a remarkable accomplishment in itself. However, the effectiveness of Aikido in practical self-defense situations has been questioned by many martial arts experts. Fight analyst Jack Slack noted that Aikido techniques are most effective when an opponent is charging straight at the practitioner, a scenario that experienced fighters tend to avoid. UFC commentator Joe Rogan also expressed doubts, asserting that Aikido would never work against a trained fighter. Despite these criticisms, Seagal had a reputation for boasting about his combat abilities. He often claimed that he could defeat anyone, anywhere, at any time. These bold assertions were not limited to his own skills. Seagal made controversial comments about legendary martial artists such as Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, as well as full-contact karate. One individual who took issue with Seagal's attitude was Bob Wall, an actor and high-ranking black belt with extensive tournament experience. Wall had personal connections with Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, and was not pleased with Seagal's behavior and comments. Determined to teach Seagal a lesson, Wall assembled a group known as the Dirty Dozen. This group included kickboxing and karate champions like Benny Urquidez, Bill Wallace, and Howard Jackson. The motivations of the members varied, with some seeking to expose Seagal as a fraud, while others were upset over allegations that Seagal had injured stuntman. The Dirty Dozen aimed to get Seagal's attention, making appearances in magazines like Preview and Black Belt. However, despite their efforts to provoke a confrontation, there was never a showdown between Seagal and the group. When Seagal finally encountered Bob Wall, he reportedly offered an apology for his controversial statements and actions. When Steven Seagal experienced being put in a chokehold, Steven Seagal's colorful journey through the martial arts world includes an intriguing encounter with Judo Gene Lael, a martial arts pioneer with a diverse background in combat sports and film. This episode sheds light on Seagal's real-life fighting skills and the controversial outcome of his challenge against Lael. Gene Lael, a martial artist with a vast repertoire of fighting styles, had a particular affinity for grappling, excelling in judo and jiu-jitsu. His expertise extended beyond his own accomplishments, as he had taught grappling techniques to legendary martial artist Bruce Lee and mentored UFC megastar Ronda Rousey. In fact, Lael even participated in the first televised MMA fight in American history in 1963, utilizing his ground game against a boxer named Milo Savage. Lael also ventured into the entertainment industry, working as an actor and stuntman, with credits in over 1,000 films and TV shows. During the production of the action movie Out for Justice, which starred Seagal, Lael served as the fight choreographer, adding his extensive martial arts knowledge to the film's fight sequences. The confrontation between Seagal and Lael reportedly occurred when Seagal claimed that no one could choke him out due to a supposed secret technique that rendered him invulnerable to such moves. Gene Lael, never one to back down from a challenge, accepted the offer to test Seagal's claim. The two engaged in a physical altercation, and within seconds, Lael had Seagal in a rear naked chokehold. Seagal, facing the prospect of unconsciousness, allegedly resorted to a desperate move, an unconventional strike to Lael's genitals. Despite this low blow, Lael maintained his hold, and Seagal eventually lost consciousness, adding a bizarre twist to the encounter. It was reported that Seagal may have had a substantial meal before the match, leading to an unsavory outcome as the unconscious actor allegedly soiled himself. While Steven Seagal has denied the occurrence of this fight, Gene Lael, often referred to as the godfather of grappling, has been steadfast in his account of the event. This incident has remained a source of fascination and debate within the martial arts and entertainment communities, further complicating the narrative of Seagal's real-life fighting abilities. The confrontation between Steven Seagal and organized crime. Steven Seagal, renowned for his on-screen battles against various cinematic villains, found himself facing a real-life confrontation with organized crime in the form of the Gambino crime family during the 1990s and early 2000s. This episode added a darker dimension to Seagal's biography, as he became entangled in a complex web of criminal intrigue. In the 1990s, Seagal collaborated with producer Julius R. Nasso, resulting in a string of successful films. However, their professional relationship turned sour in the year 2000. The situation took a sinister turn when the Gambino crime family became involved in their dispute. One fateful day, Seagal was escorted to a Brooklyn restaurant, where he encountered Anthony "Sonny" Ciccone, an alleged captain within the Gambino crime family. Ciccone, as Seagal recounted, issued a directive for the actor to resume working with Nassau. To enforce this demand, Ciccone insisted that Seagal pay $150,000 for each film he produced, effectively extorting the martial artist. In a state of fear and intimidation, Seagal complied and handed over a substantial sum of $700,000 to the gangsters. The gravity of the situation was palpable, as Seagal reportedly left the meeting with a chilling warning that had he said the wrong thing, he might have met a grim fate at the hands of the criminals. The scandal came to light in 2003 when the U.S. government indicted alleged crime boss Peter Gotti and 16 others on various charges. Seagal's testimony served as a crucial component of the prosecution's case, corroborated by recorded conversations involving figures like Ciccone and Nassau, discussing their intimidation tactics against the movie star. These recordings even captured moments where they chuckled about the fear they had instilled in Seagal. Nassau defended his actions by asserting that Seagal had backed out of multiple movie deals, leaving him owed a substantial sum of $500,000. However, Nassau was ultimately sentenced to 1 year in federal prison for his involvement in the criminal activities associated with the case. Following his release from prison, Nassau pursued a legal course of action against Seagal, seeking a staggering $60 million in damages. However, the two parties eventually reached a settlement agreement for an undisclosed sum of money. The conflict involving Steven Seagal and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, Seagal's career had seen better days, with his earlier films enjoying considerable box office success, even if they weren't always critical darlings. However, as time went on, his films started bypassing traditional theaters and going straight to video on demand, VOD, marking a shift in his career trajectory. Anita Bush, a writer for the Los Angeles Times, initiated an investigation into Seagal's relationship with producer Julius Nassau in the year 2002. This was the moment that marked the turning point. During the course of her research, Bush came across a letter that was left on her vehicle one morning that was both unsettling and menacing. The sight of a dead fish, a rose, and a sign that stated "Stop" was accompanied by a gunshot hole that was fresh new. Concerned about her well-being, Bush instantly notified the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, which subsequently initiated an investigation into Seagal's role in the incident. At first, the Federal Bureau of Inquiry, FBI, investigated the possibility that Seagal had employed a private investigator by the name of Anthony Pellicano to engage in intimidating behavior toward Bush as part of his efforts to stop her inquiry. In addition, there were assumptions that Seagal had hired someone to use a handgun in order to scare Ned Zeman, a writer for Vanity Fair. On the other hand, when the Federal Bureau of Investigation progressed further into the investigation, they finally came to the conclusion that there was not enough evidence to explicitly connect Seagal in these instances. Instead, they moved their attention to Pellicano, who was notorious for his illegal monitoring of celebrities all around the world. Although Seagal was not charged with any wrongdoing, the Federal Bureau of Investigation did not formally exonerate him either. Seagal, on the other hand, is of the opinion that the high-profile publicity that resulted from the Pellicano case was detrimental to his career in the entertainment industry. Seagal was never on the same level as A-list stars like Harrison Ford, according to a publicist in Hollywood, but the charges and scandals that he was involved in hastened the demise of his career. Seagal has voiced a desire for an apology from the FBI, stating that the claims and investigations played a significant role in his slide in the entertainment business. This desire comes in light of the perceived damage that has been done to his career. An extremely risky operation conducted by Seagal. Although it is commonly known that Seagal has a deep love for blues music and elaborate saddles, his interest in police enforcement went a different path than most people's. It is estimated that Seagal worked as a law enforcement officer in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, for roughly 20 years. It is important to note that his engagement in law enforcement was not only symbolic. Rather, he actually participated in police work throughout this period of interest. By acting in a reality television program called Steven Seagal Lawman in 2009, Seagal pushed his dedication to the field of law enforcement to a whole new level. Viewers were given a look into Seagal's life as a law enforcement officer through the viewing of the show. Through participation in the program, Seagal and his team were able to demonstrate their commitment to the law enforcement profession by overcoming a variety of hurdles with their efforts. It was during the third season of the reality show that Seagal took a crucial step by moving to Arizona and forming a partnership with the infamous Sheriff Joe Arpaio of Maricopa County. Arpaio, who is well known for his media-savvy style and unconventional ways, extended a warm welcome to Seagal, which eventually resulted in their partnership becoming a riveting spectacle. In 2011, Sheriff Arpaio was responsible for a particularly notable event that took place when he conducted a raid against a local man called Jesus Lavera. Lavera was accused of being involved in cockfighting. A stunning sight was Seagal sitting atop a tank during the operation, which included a spectacular display of force that included up to 40 SWAT personnel, a bomb squad, K-9 teams, armored vehicles, and other forms of military equipment. During the attack, Seagal's tank ripped down the gates of Lavera's land with such power that it caused damage to some areas of the property. After Lavera was taken into custody, an unanticipated obstacle presented itself. Following the discovery that Lavera was in possession of more than 100 roosters, law enforcement personnel, including Seagal, made the decision to euthanize the birds in large numbers. Lavera claimed that the police had also murdered his 11-month-old dog while they were doing the surgery, which made the situation much more difficult. A lawsuit was filed by Lavera against the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office in reaction to these charges and the subsequent controversy. Lavera also requested that Seagal write an apology letter. Nevertheless, the action was finally dismissed after the defendant entered a guilty plea to one of the allegations linked to cockfighting. For the benefit of those individuals who would have been interested in learning more about this peculiar occurrence, it was never shown on television as a part of the reality program. Putin is someone with whom he has a close relationship. The one-of-a-kind and contentious connection that Steven Seagal has with Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, has added a particular facet to his history. Seagal has professed profound affection and support for the Russian leader, which has transformed their connection into a matter of curiosity. This is despite the fact that many people throughout the world consider Putin as a person that divides them. In 2003, when Seagal was in Moscow for the Moscow Film Festival, he made a relationship with Vladimir Putin. This friendship dates back to those years. Their initial encounter resulted in the development of a friendship, which was in part spurred by the fact that they both had a passion for martial arts. In their shared passion for martial arts, Putin, who has an 8th-degree black belt in Judo, and Seagal discovered that they had a common ground. Given Putin's past as an ex-KGB agent with enormous power, it is important to note that his rank and achievements in martial arts have been called into doubt, which raises issues about the authenticity of his accomplishments. Vladimir Putin and Steven Seagal participated in a wide range of activities together as their friendship got stronger. They engaged in activities such as dining together, going to dojos for martial arts, and even working together to promote old Soviet workout regimens. Their common interests went beyond the realm of martial arts, as evidenced by the fact that they paid a visit to the Russian Judo team as the participants were getting ready for the Olympic Games in 2012. During the year 2015, Vladimir Putin made an unorthodox action by recommending to Barack Obama, who was serving as president at the time, that Seagal be designated as an honorary consul of Russia in order to facilitate communication between the two nations. Seagal was suggested for this job with the purpose of acting as a potential mediator between them. On the other hand, President Obama quickly decided against the notion, which prevented Seagal from taking on a diplomatic position. Despite this, Seagal has maintained a strong connection with Russia throughout his career. He makes frequent trips to the nation, where he takes part in a variety of events that demonstrate his support for Russian politics and culture. During these visits, events such as giving demonstrations of Aikido to Russian audiences touring the factory that produces Kalashnikov rifles, attending a parade commemorating the 70th anniversary of the Nazi surrender to the Soviet Union, and even performing a concert for pro-Russian separatists in the Crimean Peninsula have taken place. It is against the law for him to enter Ukraine because he is a citizen of Russia. The remarkable degree of Steven Seagal's affection for Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, was achieved in November of 2016, when he became a citizen of Russia and formally received Russian citizenship. This step was made much more noteworthy by the fact that Putin himself signed Seagal's Russian passport, therefore highlighting the actor's newly discovered ties to the country. Putin's decision to award Seagal Russian citizenship was based on the belief that it would help to the gradual normalization of ties between Russia and the United States, particularly by nations that have strained relations with Russia. A prohibition on Seagal's entry into Ukraine was extended for a period of 5 years. As stated by Ukraine in May of 2017, the ban was justified by the Ukraine Security Service, which stated that it was based on concerns regarding the national security of Ukraine. Seagal's enthusiasm for Russia's forceful activities in the area, most notably the acquisition of the Crimean Peninsula, which Ukraine has been attempting to recapture, was generally regarded to have been a factor in the decision to impose this ban. Despite the fact that Seagal's admission into Ukraine was particularly targeted by the ban, there was no clarification about whether or not his films were also prohibited within the nation. Nevertheless, this new event brought to light the influence that Seagal's political and diplomatic alliance with Russia has had on his reputation in the worldwide community. It demonstrated how his activities went beyond the domain of entertainment and had ramifications in the real world. He has a profound fondness for animals, particularly those who exude an air of mysticism with their presence. Seagal is a dedicated vegetarian who serves as an advocate for animal rights through his advocacy work. This is despite the fact that he is known for shattering bones on display. He believes that it is more successful to shame businesses into making ethical decisions. Hence, he chooses to use his power to persuade businesses to modify their methods. There is more to Seagal's compassion for animals than just his food choices. He has communicated a strong connection with all living things, recognizing that he is mirrored in the variety of life. To quote him directly, "When I walk into a room, some people see a dog, and some people see a cow that I am walking into. It is all of what they see that I am." Their point of view is the issue. A significant incident of Seagal's activism for animals happened in 1999, when he played a significant part in exerting pressure on South Africa to stop the shipment of newborn elephants to Japan. This was a noteworthy experience for Seagal. In recognition of his efforts in this respect, he was presented with a humanitarian award from Peta, which acknowledged his commitment to the protection of these species. After another 4 years, Seagal expanded his advocacy efforts to include Thailand. He submitted a letter to the government of Thailand to express his worries on the way in which juvenile elephants are treated. He asserted that he was alone responsible for bringing about favorable changes in the way that Thailand treats these creatures for the better. In addition, Seagal's lobbying efforts extended to India, where he endeavored to bring attention to the manner in which cows, animals that are believed to have significant cultural and religious value in India, are treated. Among the various creatures that have come into contact with Seagal, there is one story that stands out as something really extraordinary. Within the context of an interview with Peta, Seagal related a remarkable occurrence that occurred during his formative years in Japan, when he was in the process of studying Aikido. Additionally, he said that a white dog had originally greeted him, and that after a few days, the dog had started barking at him telepathically. When Seagal observed this peculiar behavior, it acted as a warning to him that his dojo was on fire, which proved to be the case. Seagal was successful in putting out the fire, and the white dog disappeared without a trace, never to be seen or heard from again. Peta honored Seagal's dedication to animal welfare by bestowing upon him an accolade for his efforts to the cause. This was done in spite of the fact that the narrative of the magical ESP dog was a fantasy one. What do you think about Steven Seagal's story? Is he a true martial arts master or just a Hollywood pretender? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more revealing stories from the world of entertainment. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.